Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first video that you're going to need to get through to be creating some circular art. This one is using a ruler, and we're looking at inches, using half-inch and quarter-inch measurements. And this is just a checkpoint. I need to know where you guys are at, and we need to be able to demonstrate these skills to get further on. So this might be a repeat for some people, and you should go right through it, and some other people haven't worked too much with the ruler. Okay, so what we're looking at is a ruler that is 12 inches long. So there's two measurements here. We've got our centimeters, which are the little guys on one side, and a ruler is about 30 centimeters long. You can see it right there. If you flip it over, we've got the much longer measurement there, and that is about 12 inches long. Okay, so we're going to be looking at inches. We're going to be using inches on this throughout the whole circular art. Okay, so what we're doing here is I need you guys to be able to create 3 lines using a ruler. So the first thing we need to know is that the start of a ruler isn't the end of the ruler necessarily. It's this first mark here, because every large mark, and I'm going to mark them right here, is 1 inch. So the beginning is actually right here at this mark, and I can go ahead and make a mark here. And what we're going to do first is we're going to make a line that is 4 inches long. So I made an end point, or an end line right here. And I'm going to go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches, 4 inches. Make another one right here. Now, this is the trick with holding a ruler. There's different ways you can do it. I have larger hands. I've been working with a ruler for a long time. But how I usually recommend it is your non-writing hand. You want to use the thumb and a finger, because what you don't want is your ruler to be sliding all over the place as you make it. That's one of the things that's sort of challenging. So you can see I can get more comfortable. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to come back here and put my mark on 0 up to 4 inches, and I'm spreading out my fingers. I could turn my paper to do it if I need to, and then I'm going to hold that down. Okay, and I got my end points here, my end lines. I can either have points on the end or ends, an end line, and this guy is right about 4 inches. So this guy's 4 inches, and another way to write inches is to have these the double line there. Okay, now what we're also going to be looking at, first of all, let's just make sure we're clear. Here's, if I had a number line here, it would be 0. I can go along and I can put a mark at every one of those inches. So here would be 0, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and 4 inch. So we should create one that looks like that guy. Now, if you look real close at the ruler, I'm just going to look real close at between 0 and 1 inches. And there's all sorts of splits here. And how that works is they split it in half first. So this is a half of an inch right here. And then these other smaller guys are quarters. So if I went 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters of an inch would be a whole inch. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to measure out 3.5 inches this time. So I'm going back to 0. And I'm going to go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. I might put little marks there, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. And then 3.5 would be halfway between. It's this, it's called a hash mark, and it's the hash mark right between 3 and 4. Okay, remember, you're not going on the number 3. That number 3 is just marking this guy right there. So 3.5 inches would be this guy right there. Okay, so I'm going to create that going back. And you can see I've got, here's 0 inches, there's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and then there would be that extra half inch. So this would be 3.5 inches. So I can mark that 3.5 inches equals, or I can put 3.5 and put those little lines there. It means the same thing. Okay, so I need to be able to measure on the 1/2 inch. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we're gonna do 1 on the 1/4 inch. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break up, I'm gonna do 4 inches, but I'm gonna break them up in 4/4 each. So here's my 0 mark. I'm back at that first hash mark, going all the way up to 4. I'm gonna mark at 3, 2, and 1. And then connect those guys. I can pull this off just to make sure that my lines go through. Okay, so I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to come along and I'm going to mark the 1/4 inch too. Okay, so here's 0 to 1 inch, so this is 1 inch long. And if I cut that in half, it'd be right here. If I cut the halves in half, they'd be right here and right here. So I'm on these hash marks, this hash mark, this hash mark, and now I'm going to go through and mark every 1/4 I've got. Here's a 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. I'm just marking right with those measurements. Might need to readjust it a little bit. I got a little off. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. And what I'm going to have you do is label 2 3/4. So here's 1 inch, 2 inches, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So if I was going to measure this length right here, it should be 2 3/4 inches long. Okay, and that's why you could see that like 3.5 is the same as 3 2/4, because that's 1/4, 2/4. Well, that's the same as 2 halves. It'd be like having a $1/2. You can either have a $1/2 of a dollar, 50 cents, or 2/4. It's all the same as 1/2. Okay, so the last thing you're going to need to do to get checked off is give me your own line length. Make up a length in inches. So anywhere from, I don't know, 3 inches up to 10 inches. Anywhere from 3 inches all the way up to 10 inches. And you don't want this to be perfectly on 3 inches or 10 inches or 4 inches, 5 inches. You can make them 7 1/4 or maybe 6 3/4. You decide, okay? You decide. So to get this checked off, you've got to have these 3 lines made, 1, 2, 3, and one more of your own measurement that uses 1/4 inches. Okay, that's it. Good luck.